everyone, and welcome to the Women in ICT session at APNIC 52. You may have thought for a moment we were actually in a nightclub, but we're not. But I think it sets the tone for a really interesting, robust discussion where we'll all hopefully walk away learning some great stuff. My name is Sienna Perry and I work at APNIC, and it is a pleasure to be a host for this session. Thank you for joining us here today, and everyone here at the APNIC Secretariat sends out their well wishes for you and your family and your colleagues at this time. We've been having Women in ICT sessions at APNIC meetings for quite some years now, and the format and the content and the topics change quite regularly. When in person, this session is a really great way to make strong connections between people in our community. Knowing that this session would be delivered virtually, we really put on our thinking caps to figure out what is going to be the most valuable way we can use this hour. And we started by identifying a problem that we really know we have at APNIC, which is when it comes to convening program committees for meetings, when we receive submissions for presentations, often there are very few presentations proposals by women. Sometimes there are none. That makes it very difficult to be able to present or provide a space for women in ICT to share the stuff that they're working on. As you have probably heard the phrase, you can't be who you can't see. I kind of reject that idea because someone always has to go first. We always have to at some point be before we can see other people doing it. But that can be very difficult being the first. It takes a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice and self-belief. And occasionally I think it can be really quite lonely. So in this session, we have the privilege of hearing from speakers who have all been before they have seen. And that's not just the panelists, that's everyone joining the session here today. And I'm asking everyone here today to contribute to the discussion, because there's not one person here joining us today who hasn't at some point taken that the leap of self-belief, and we'd like to hear about that. Together, we're going to share some experiences, some advice and tools that will hopefully result in more women and underrepresented groups of people contributing and submitting presentations to events and conferences in our community, including, but not limited to, APNIC and apricot meetings. We'd also like to really hear the reasons why you haven't up until now presented or proposed or put in a submission for a meeting. Perhaps you have, and we'd like to hear that too. But if we understand the barriers of people putting up presentations, then we can do some work to making it a little bit easier. We have four wonderful panelists today. In order, Mia Perez, who is the National Coordinator of the Switch C APNIC Foundation project. Mia has actually done some primary research into this area as a result, specifically for this session, and she's going to present it for the first time today, which will be fascinating. Then we have the wonderful Afifa from Bangla Link, who many of you know, and she actually is on the APNIC 52 PC. So she's going to give us an inside track into the kind of proposals and presentations, submissions that the PC get. Then we have the wonderful Anna from APNIC, who is a Senior Internet Resource Analyst and a Liaison Officer for the Southeast Asia area, as well as many other things. And she's going to talk to us about starting small as a way of breaking into putting in your first submissions. And then we're going to finish with a heavy hitter, Jen Linkova from Google. She is a presentation extraordinaire. No pressure, Jen. But all of these people here are going to share in a really informal discussion type thing. And I will ask everyone at any stage to raise your hand or to type a question, and we will actually break into some of the presentations, because this is really a discussion space. It's not a, kind of a presentation, a formal presentation. As always, be mindful of the code of conduct published on the APNIC 52 website and chat box. If you have any questions about using Zoom or that's not related to the actual content of this session, please pop it in the Zoom chat. And we'd really love it if you could share a photo of yourself attending this session virtually on social media and hashtag APNIC52. And as I've mentioned previously, there's some great prizes every day for the best selfies. And finally, after this, I am encouraging everyone to keep the conversation going by joining the conference chat and mingle with staff, speakers, and sponsors. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Mia to introduce herself briefly and then take it away.
Hi everyone, can I check my audio first? Can you hear me clearly? Yay, thank you. Good afternoon. So I will be opening the discussion by sharing about the challenges encountered, getting support, and overcoming hurdles in submitting papers in conferences, meetings, and journals. But first, let me share what I do with the amazing people that I'm working with right now. So I am the National Coordinator of Switch C for the Philippines. Switch C is short for Supporting Women IT Research Leaders in Southeast Asia. And what we do is we support women and LGBTQI plus working in the internet industry. We have around 70 plus participants. So if some of you are watching right now, hello. 70 plus participants, we're supporting them in terms of technical, if they like courses related to technical or soft skills. We also support them if they want mentoring in tutorial needs. And also, just like in our session for today, if they want to explore certain research topics, we also support them in Switch C. But before working for Switch C, my experience in research and paper submission goes all the way back when I was working at a university here in the Philippines. What we do is we deploy base stations and community networks in rural areas here in the Philippines. So working in the academe, research, or university, it's very aligned with what you say research, and since it's very aligned, I did not encounter a lot of challenges in terms of submitting papers. If some of our listeners right now are also working in the university, maybe in the discussion later, you can also share if you also experience the same. There are not a lot of challenges. For example, funding. We have research, sort of main umbrella research. If we can create topics related to that umbrella research, our research topic gets funded. Um, we also have masters and PhD mentors, amazing mentors in the university. Um, so finding a topic is not really a problem because I think they they can also receive some sort of incentive as co-authors of our papers. So, as mentioned, working in that setting or environment, I did not encounter much of an external challenges, but I can say more of the internal or doing the paper itself. Those are the things I encountered as challenging. I will share more about that later. So, admittedly, since I have this sort of limited perspective of um, sorry, is my audio still clear? Can you still hear me? Yeah. So since my background is limited, I can only share these things. What we did, just like what Shanna said, what we did is to conduct a survey with our Switch C participants and in the community portal. And we basically asked them, what are the challenges you encountered in submitting papers? So I will share those results here today. So if you can also sort of share those experiences and challenges, feel free to join in the discussion later. So we got around 50 female respondents in that survey, all working in the internet industry, working in the academe, government, NGO, but the majority of the respondents we got are working in the private sector, internet service providers and telecoms. So we asked them, have they experienced submitting in conferences or journals? 65% of the respondents say no, they haven't experienced, and 35% of the respondents say that they have. So I'm going to share now the challenges. For the 65% who haven't submitted any paper before, the challenges are the following. Because submission was in English, just like me, I'm not a native speaker of English, so I also find it hard to create papers in English. Um, Finding a topic that fits the conference agenda. Their work is not ready for publication. Haven't secured the approval from their manager. But the top reasons, according to our survey, are the following. They lack the confidence to speak in public, and I think these ones are interrelated. They haven't submitted because it's not a requirement from the employer, their work does not involve research, and there's no clear benefit as to why they need to submit a paper. So it very well makes sense, as you can see. And for the 35% who have experienced submitted paper, so this one I can relate, in their pain points, first is finding an advisor. Again, because submission was in English. Funding, some even noted the funding as in the travel, proofreading fees, conference fees, and one said that only submissions to high quality conferences get funding in her case. So copyright restrictions, finding related literatures are also part of the challenges. But the top three challenges for those who have submitted papers are the following. First is finding a topic. So in my case, in my personal experience, how do you spot if something can be written? How original should the topic be? What if someone has done the same topic before? So those are some of the thoughts in finding a topic. Collecting data. One even said that she finds it hard to collect given now that it's pandemic. And this one I can very well relate to is writing the actual paper. It's very hard to write a paper. To deliver sort of a coherent message in your paper, and in the back of your mind you would think, is this submission enough to get accepted? How do I say that, yeah, this can be accepted? This paper is good to go. So how to overcome those hurdles, for those employer related challenges, I don't know also how to overcome those, but for the top challenges like identifying topic, collecting data, writing a paper, and speaking in public, in my experience, I think how I overcome those challenges is by really going out there and trying to submit. Because I get to experience everything. I get to experience going through every challenges and experience succeeding in each one. So I think that's the how I overcome that challenge. And speaking in public, scripts and preparation also work well with me. So lastly, I will share the very first time I submitted a paper. It is in a private company exhibit. We used their microchip, so we shared how we used it. Since I haven't tried submitting before, I guess the biggest push or motivation I experienced was when my superior or mentor gave me the go signal that yes, that paper is good for submission. Um, and the topic that I'm working on is good to be presented in that conference. So I guess for the managers or mentors who are listening here today, I can share that encouragement or reinforcement is key for people like me in my very first stage to try and come out of our shells, in their shells. In one of the intersectionality webinars I even attended, it says that one of the ways inclusivity can be fostered in organizations is by superiors, managers, or mentors reducing barriers for women and men to come to the table, or by inviting them to be in the same table. So in my experience, that helped me a lot in building confidence for my next paper submissions. So That ends my part. Thank you, Shanna.
Thank you so much, Mia. That's brilliant. I think you touched on a couple of really important points here. And before I hand over to Afifa, I'd just like to highlight them. We haven't yet talked about the benefits of presenting. And I think to some extent they're self-evident, but it's things like increasing your exposure in the industry. It's providing you with different opportunities that you might not know there to network and to share your work. And also, when you share your work about a problem or experience that you faced, you're actually helping the community become more robust in general, because we can all learn from each other. I know that Jen will talk about finding a topic, and I think you're touching on that idea of confidence is really excellent, and I think it's probably a lingering doubt for many people. Very briefly, I'll tell you that the last time I did a Women in ICT thing for Apricot, my presentation technically failed spectacularly, but it was okay because you just keep going. And I think that one of the things is our community is pretty forgiving, to be honest, and really are trying to support everyone as much as possible, especially when you're early in your presentation career. So I will hand over to Afifa, who can give us a bit of insight into being on a PC and what presentations and submissions she gets.
Thank you so much, Sienna, for inviting me. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Okay. So thank you again, Sienna, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be the part of this panel discussion with the wonderful ladies. And Women in ICT had been a session which had been a very close to my heart. I was involved in it in several APNIC meetings. And being a part of the PC co-chair, this is something I have realized. This topic, especially, I have realized during my co-chairship, and this was a very much needed discussion, I would say. So first of all, I would like to start with, as I can see, there are many female audiences, and I would like to thank them for joining. I would like to highlight that in APNIC, how does the entire paper selection process works? And I'm sure that after that, so many doubts will get cleared and people will have the courage to submit, because it's very friendly and welcoming. So what happens, this is the second time or probably fourth time I'm working as a PC member. I have worked twice in Apricot and twice in APNIC, and this time I worked as a co-chair. So what usually happens that before 2.5 months or around 3 months, the APNIC conference starts, APNIC makes the announcement of call for paper submission within their website. And along with the announcement, they also mention the list of topics around which the authors are expected to build their presentation and everything. And they APNIC also forms a program committee, which having diverse technical expertise. People are having expertise from cybersecurity, routing security, IPv6, SDN, and many more. So they have a dedicated submission portal, and the authors, they do submit, and all the program committee members are told to rate the submission along with their comment. And we sit on weekly basis to discuss the submissions and to make our analysis and to make our decision which one to accept and which one to reject. And based on my experience, what I have found that there are only 5 to 6% of the presentations which are a direct accept, and the rest are, for rest of them, there is always a way or always a room to improvement, which means that most of them are not perfect in first go. So when we see that there is a little potential and the content is very good, and if the author can be guided, he or she can turn this presentation into a very good one. So what we do, we assign a dedicated program committee member for that particular author. So that program committee member, what he or she does, he informs about the PC comments to the author, and they both work together in order to build a revised presentation. So what happens when we try to assign a female program committee member to somebody, if the author is female, and we also try to match the economy. Suppose if the author is from Bangladesh, we try to assign somebody from the program committee to that person within that region in order to, reduce that language barrier. So the point I'm trying to make here is that men, they are well aware of their imperfection, but they embrace it gracefully. But the thing is that the women, they are too busy to, perfect themselves rather than embracing their imperfection. And there is nothing wrong with it. Nobody is perfect. You have to admit it. You have to embrace it. So just, that is my point, is that, if you are not perfect, that's totally fine, because that is where the program committee is there to make you and to stretch their support and make you, perfect. And another point I would like to highlight is that you don't have to be a CTO or a rocket scientist in order to submit a paper. All you need, that's a myth. You don't have to have your own company. You don't have to be a CEO. What you all need is, you need to have that subject matter expertise. And that is, from your experience, you have to build up a story. Suppose you have faced something within the community, you have overcome the challenges, you have faced the challenges, and then again, you have overcome by yourself. You know the story better than yourself, better than anybody else. And you have to know one thing, and that is your own story, and nobody will be able to present it better than yourself. When you know it, that gives you an added confidence in order to present your paper. So that is something to keep in the mind. I would like to share here my experience that I submitted a paper in APNIC 42 and both in APNIC 45 with a good faith that my paper will get rejected in first go, because somehow I had the feeling that as the deadline was approaching and I was having huge work pressure, I couldn't give a lot of effort in terms of preparing my slides. So yeah, exactly that happened. The paper didn't get rejected, but the PC, they saw the potential in me, and they in return assigned one program committee member dedicated to myself, and we both worked together to build up something acceptable. And after submitting the revised paper, my paper got accepted. So that is how it works. And now I would like to highlight that what are the criteria usually in APNIC 52, the criteria of rejection. So based on my experience, we do not really reject any paper right away until there is something severe, like if the topic is not relevant to APNIC conference, because as I mentioned, the topic list is given within the website. So if somebody submits a paper which is totally off topic, we usually go for the rejection. If I have to mention one example, and that is this year, somebody submitted a paper on online gaming, and we figured out that that is not actually relevant for APNIC conference, and we had to go for the rejection. Another thing is that when somebody tries to promote their own brand and own company, we highly discourage that part, and we usually go for the rejection, because APNIC conference is all about sharing the best practices with each other rather than promoting any brand or something. And the third part is when the PC members, they are trying to communicate with the author, and when the author doesn't come back within the timeline with the revised submission, then we do not have any other choice rather than rejecting. So see, there are a few severe criteria in terms of getting rejected, and I'm sure those who will be submitting the paper, they will be cooperative enough, and both when we can work together, we can create, I would say, a magic. So for the female speakers, my message would be, we have the platform, and that is APNIC 52, and we have the resources, which is the program community. So what is missing here is you and your broader mindset, I would say, because sometimes I say I can see that the problems is not even there in the reality, it's all within the mindset. So just bring yourself with the broader mindset. When these three entities will get together, we can create something really good. The last message I would want to say that just stay away from overthinking and just dare to submit. And that's all I want to say. And things will start to fall into places automatically. Just submit. Thank you, Sienna.
Amazing words, Afifa. Thank you so much. And I will quote you now. Men embrace their imperfection. I think that's a big statement, but I do think what is true is often women feel the need to be perfect before they put something out there. And what I'm hearing really strongly from you is that PCs, their job is actually to solicit and then advocate and encourage and help people to develop the best presentation they can give. And in fact, it's more of a collaborative process. And the other thing I'm hearing is maybe we should all try and fail occasionally, because then at least we know we're trying to do something really big. I will now hand over to Anna, who's going to tell us a little bit about her journey, and also her from little things, big things grow, which I think is a great message. Anna?
Thank you, Shanna. I actually prepared a presentation. I'm going to share my screen right now, if that's okay. Okay, this is actually my first time being in a panel, so I prepared a presentation slides. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I'm from the APNIC Services team. And for this session, I'm going to talk about how from small number of women, we can go bigger when it comes to presenting at APNIC conferences. But first, let me introduce you to the amazing women in APNIC services area. For this topic, we actually sat down together, as you can see from these photos, bring our ideas and suggestions on how we can improve the number of female speakers in our sessions. As you know, APNIC serves the Asia Pacific. However, in terms of our engagements, we have grouped them in 4 sub-regional focus. So we have the South Asia sub-region, which comprises of economies such as India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. Then we have the Southeast Asia sub-region, and under this sub-region, we have economies such as Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and all other economies under this sub-region. Then we have East Asia, and under East Asia, we have like China, Korea, Taiwan. And for Australia, New Zealand, and all economies in the Pacific, we have categorized them under Oceania sub-region. Now, from the women I have introduced earlier, from the APNIC services team, we have female representation from each of these sub-regions in terms of engagements. So when we had our discussion, we are pretty much covering various cultural backgrounds and experiences. And based on what we have shared and experienced, these are the observations that we have come up with. Women in the Asia Pacific generally have achieved higher education and technical skills. And so because of that, we have competitive roles and positions within our organization. And that leaves us with a decision-making if we want to be involved or participate in events or conferences. And in terms of participation from women, nowadays it is very much encouraged and recognized. However, in terms of the paper submissions to the APNIC Conference Program Committee, like Afifa said, it's really low, around just 6%. So this leaves us the question why we still have very few women sending their papers. In fact, for APNIC 52, based on the number of total registrations, there's about 11 to 13%. So that's 250 female registrations. But if we look at the other sessions, except for women in ICT, it's either 0 presenters or at the most 1 female presenter in other sessions. In fact, it's great that we have 1 female keynote speaker this morning, so that's really good. So the next question is, how do we start? Perhaps we can start by challenging ourselves. If I have to give an example, very recently we had a technical session with this one large ISP, and the boss requested to have a Zoom meeting with us. And during the meeting, he said he's giving his full MyAPNIC access to his female engineer because she's the one doing the BGP configuration. She knows full well about the routing. So she explained that they need to create the ROAS and implement RPKI. So she's the one who's doing all the hands-on in the operations. And we know there's a lot of you out there who, like, for example, this female engineer who's very involved in the operations. You could be involved in V6 deployment, network security, DNSSEC. So perhaps you can start by picking a topic that you're comfortable with because you're doing it in your day-to-day operations. Now, after choosing a topic of choice, the next step that you can do is putting a presentation together and then design your message and storytelling based on what you can contribute to the community. As Afifa said earlier, the PC has their preference and requirements when choosing papers, so it's good to consider the audience and the purpose of the presentation. And Mia also mentioned earlier about the diversity of language in our region. Most of us, English is not our first language. However, the delivery requires to be delivered in English. So basically, what we can suggest is to do lots and lots of practice. I do that myself, to be able to overcome your nerves and to present your topic clearly to your audience. And of course, we have a lot of reference tools that we can use, such as guidebooks, online video tips, and of course, we have this support group that we can all help and support each other. Now, after creating your slide deck, the next question is where to present it. Well, as we mentioned earlier, big things start small. Perhaps you can share or practice in a small group within your workplace. You may be able to use it as a start, training your colleagues at work, and then eventually maybe submit the paper and present it in your local network operator group event. In some cases, if you have a good topic, you may be invited in other NOGs, or APNIC may invite you to submit the paper in APNIC conference. You may need to just modify the paper to a bigger audience. Also, if you want to have a look first how the session goes, you can volunteer as moderator or panelist. I'm sure Afifa has lots of tips on how to moderate sessions because she has done a lot of that. And also, you can start by doing a short presentation based on your technical topic. I very much encourage you to attend the lightning talks tomorrow. Perhaps we can start from there. Hopefully, we have more female speakers in the next lightning talk, at least for the next conference. And once you get the confidence, then you can submit your paper to the main sessions, such as, BGP, P6 deployment, or DNSSEC. It doesn't have to be just on the technical side. If your interest is more on the policy development process, then you can submit your policy proposals. Lastly, I'd like to say that there are benefits in presenting. First, it can help your personal and professional development because you'll never know who's watching your presentation. It could also lead to learning and engagement opportunities. And because in some cases, other ISPs who may be experiencing the same challenges could help you. So that could lead to potential collaboration with other experts, because for your technical topic, they may have a good suggestion about your issues or challenges. So it may not only benefit yourself or your organization, but your community as a whole. If I can go back to my previous example, the engineer who created the ROAS, the next day, the entire economy is celebrating because since they are a large ISP, it increases the overall ROA of the entire country to 4%. So you'll never know what you can contribute to the community or to your entire economy as a whole unless you engage and start contributing. So yeah, I hope with that I managed to somehow encourage you to present in the next conference. That's all from me, Sienna. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anna. And I think that's really true. Sometimes, putting some of your thoughts and experiences out there, you don't know what the impact is going to be. And maybe, just maybe, it's going to be really big and great. And you can inspire other people. We did have a question specifically for you, Anna. Let me just find it here, because I don't know if everyone's watching, but the chat's going crazy. There's some really, really good points here. Where are we? Okay. Was a question about, yes, Fan T Nuong says, hi, Anna, what are the differences of women in ICT among APAC countries that you see?
Differences in terms of the sub-regional areas. Basically, when we had our discussion between other sub-regional groups, the economy still varies in terms of culture. In some areas, women are still expected to stay at home and put on hold their careers. So they need more support. For example, in the Switch C project I have attended a few weeks ago in the IGF, it seems that more women need more support in terms of being able to present. However, in other economies, women are more kind of in the position to have the decision, and they are the boss. They can just go straight away to conferences. So I guess in terms of support, we have to know which economies need more support, and perhaps we can do more collaboration with them. That's my take on it.
Brilliant, Anna, thank you. And I'd just like to highlight some good points that people have made on the chat, which is starting really, really small. You know, I think just even presenting to your team and then working up to your organization and up and up and up. Because I think you find that at each step, you won't get as much, it won't be as scary as you think it may be. And sometimes scary is good as well. Listen, next we've got the wonderful Jen Linkova from Google to talk to us. Jen, please take the stage.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Hi. Now I'm really scared because expectations are apparently set very high. So, you know, I actually love presenting. So I'm always looking for, what can I talk about, right? And because I'm an engineer, I'm trying to come up with, I don't know, an algorithm. How can I find the next topic? So what I realized, the best thing to talk about is something you are really, really excited about, right? So what keeps you awake at night? There must be a topic you can talk about for hours, right? And something really funny which happens recently, some cool project you've done. Or, you know, engineers do like to hear about, oh, you know, something got broken yesterday. It was so interesting. We spent 3 hours troubleshooting this, we fixed it. And you know what was it? And so on. And I personally do like all those war stories and stories about what actually went wrong and how we can prevent it next time. So it does not have to be a success story necessary. Actually, my best presentations are probably about things which went horribly wrong. Another thing I realized could be a very good topic to present is something which might not be nice. It might be something really annoying, but it keeps getting into your way. If I realized I keep explaining the same thing over and over again to different people all the time. So maybe it's just a time now for sharing the information, to do some education and get everyone on the same page, right? Maybe to share some best current practices or how to do things better and more efficient and so on, right? I think if I see the same topic over and over again, it's probably might be a very good topic for presentation. Maybe internal one if it keeps happening to you and your colleagues, or if you discuss the same thing with people in your industry. Yeah, you can go to big conferences and talk about that. Or something you can do very well. Like sometimes I realize, yeah, people keep coming to me with, again, same questions, so topics which I can help them with. And I'm like, yeah, it looks like I can do this. So probably I can summarize it and share my experience and tell people how I'm doing things. And maybe someone would find it interesting or useful. Or actually, a couple of times I found it very, very interesting and useful to talk about things I have no idea about. Seriously, it might sound crazy, but the best thing to learn something is actually to teach someone. So I'm like, I always wanted to know more about this particular technology, let's say DNSSEC. So yeah, let me spend some time on it, create a like hour-and-a-half presentation, DNSSEC 101, and go to my colleagues who might be interested or go to some small NOC conferences and talk about this. Because maybe I'm not the only one who would like to know more about this. And I can like give a like short tutorial and community would benefit from this. And I found it very like satisfying and useful because I've learned something from it. So it's actually, there are a lot of things you can present about if you just sit down and think, what could it be? And there are two problems I always have. First, I always think, oh, it must be so obvious. If I know this, I'm quite sure everyone else must know that as well, right? So whatever I'm gonna say, not going to be interesting for other people because they probably already know all that stuff. And you know what? Every time I do this, I find that I'm wrong. Because sometimes when I'm talking about IPv6 a lot. And every time I try to have a few slides just to summarize the basics, just to establish a common ground. And then I quite often find that, oh, we actually need to spend more time on the basic things because apparently not everyone knows everything. And sometimes, yeah, people might be interested even in the basic stuff or things I consider basic, but some people might not, the same way I sometimes listen to other people talks and I was, oh, wow, that's really cool, right? And my other problem was that because I love presenting and I do a presentation once and I'm like, for the next conference, I need something completely new. I cannot present the same slide deck twice. And again, sometimes it's not the case because there are a lot of conferences around like network operations group, different RIR meetings and so on. And obviously people cannot attend all of them. And we are all busy. We don't have enough time to watch all videos. I wish I had more time for this. So sometimes there is not much overlap in the audience. And I found here a couple of times I was, I don't want to go because I presented this already to a tribe, for example, so I don't want to go to Nanog or something. And no, and sometimes I found that it's useful to talk to program committee as well and ask them, here is the video to the talks I've done, like in some other places. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be useful? Do you think there is a lot of overlap in the audience or not? And they will be back to you and say, oh yeah, great. Or maybe no, yeah, half of our people went there and seen your talk and so on, right? So talk to program committee if you're in doubt. And I would like to say, think about what's the worst thing which gonna happen if your talk is not accepted. I think nothing, right? I have not heard about anyone being eaten alive because the talk was not accepted, right? In the worst case scenario, you'll get some feedback, and that would be it. And next time we'll succeed, right? And in the best case scenario, you'll get a slot. So it's a kind of win-win situation. And I think I used all my time. I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Jen. I don't know if you've seen, but the chat has been lighting up. Philip, who is on the APNIC 52 PC, I believe, has said that he has not heard of PCs eating people yet, but perhaps one day, you know, if we all get really hungry, that would happen. I think you made some amazing points there. Too many to go over, but you know, that idea of sharing war stories, I think, is really good because we've all had failures and, you know, maybe one or two massive successes, but sharing the failures and how you overcome them is maybe even better. And that idea of collaboration, I think, is really important too. I'm getting messages left, right, and center. We've got an APNIC staff member called A. Clark, and she is originally from Myanmar, and she said that Fio and I'm sorry if I pronounce your names wrong, she will help you translate your presentations should you wish. And I think there's a lot of other support at APNIC. We can rouse for people who really want to get a submission in or get some feedback or something like that, or even do a, you know, like a dry run, do some rehearsals of it. I also put in the, or David, sorry, from APNIC put in the chat that we have, the APNIC community have a mailing list specifically for women in tech. If you join that, and we've put the link there to a bit of background about it, but we can really continue this conversation because I think there's obviously a lot of support for each other in the room here virtually. And I think if we can keep that going, bounce around ideas, and you might even find a buddy that would be willing to do a Zoom so that you could talk through your presentation or that kind of thing. So we've got about like 15 minutes maybe, and I'd really like to hear from other people out there. And I'd actually really like to hear from any men in the room who would like to share their experience being a, you know, kind of an advocate or a mentor or anything that they've observed. In fact, anyone who'd like to say anything. Where are we? Come on, raise some hands. Oh, we've got a chat. Hold on. Oh yeah, Afifa says the good thing is you get the clues of the topics off the APNIC website, which makes your search easier. The other thing to bear in mind is if public speaking is really not comfortable for you, but you have a great story to share, perhaps you could talk to the APNIC blog people. Myself, I am one of them, and we could look at putting your work as a blog, and maybe that might be the first step towards you actually being able to present as well. Come on, guys. Anyone want to say anything? This is your opportunity. Oh yeah, Anna, please.
Actually, I have two things. I seen that there's a suggestion about mailing list. I feel maybe we can also set up a group chat or something, because I feel I get more faster response when I do message in a chat or any social media platform. If it's not very formal or just a casual conversation, I think it's faster and easier to talk in social media or group chat. And then the second thing, I see Philip giving some suggestions on how you can pass your paper to the program committee. If Philip can share some ideas on what content would be preferable, then I think that would help other female, who's watching right now to submit their papers in the future.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Anna. And another sneaky thing that I can suggest is if you're looking at a meeting that you want to present to, go and have a look at the names on the program committee. See if you've met any of them before or you've seen them present before, and then find their emails and email them and say, do you think you might be able to take a look at this? Sometimes they won't do it, but you know, PCs are generally filled with people who are giving over their time and their energy for the good of the community. So often people like Afifa and Philip will say yes if they've got time and energy. All right, come on, we've got a little bit more time. Does anyone want to add anything? I'm going to leave an uncomfortable silence for a moment. Oh, yeah, we do. Oh, yeah, we've got, woo, yes. Manoj, please.
Hi, am I audible?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, so sorry for breaking the women's party out here. So sorry, I was just listening to all of you. I am from Bhutan, and we also have this women in ICT. But it's not a suggestion or a complaint, but in Bhutan, the women in Bhutan, they tend to take this little bit personally when we try to promote women in ICT. Like they are saying, like, are you like telling us that we are not equal, or are you trying to say that we coming into IT is like something different or something unusual? Why you are promoting this kind of dinner and lunch in our local NOC, BT NOC? So I wanted to know from all of you, what is the main purpose of having women in ICT? Is it like we are encouraging people, like women to be in ICT, or how is it? A little bit confused on this, because women in Bhutan, they are taking it personally on this issue, because we have like almost 50-50, like 50 male and 50 women working in ICT field. So this is a doubt I had. That's why I was attending this thing to know why. From the presentation and everything, now I know that you're actually encouraging people to participate in the conferences, and you're actually looking for speakers and all. But the tagline "Women in ICT," how to promote it properly? So that is my question to all of you.
Manoj, first, you're not jumping into a women's party. This is an everyone party. Secondly, I think you raise a very, very good point. We are ongoing having this difficult conversation about how we try and encourage more diverse participation in general in tech, and particularly in our little world of tech, in deep tech, in kind of networking and things. When we do call things women in ICT, it does exclude and it does kind of other people. I don't know if there's any really good answer to this, because looking at the 56 economies of the Asia Pacific, we don't have, it's not an equal spread of like it is in Bhutan, where there is a lot more 50-50 representation between genders. But I want to highlight the issue in diversity isn't just between men and women in tech. It's also between young people and older people and different, kind of ethnic groups, people who are regionally based versus in the city. And I think that it is really critically important that we see participation by every different type of person, so their experiences can inform the way we build our tech. But that's just me. And it was interesting watching the other, I'm sitting here with two other women in the room, and they're both going, yes, Manoj is right, he's right, that's an issue. I don't have the answers. I'd be really welcoming if someone else would like to talk about this as well.
So Sienna, I would like to mention a few things about it, that I have seen people, who take these things negatively, that why should we discuss about it, women and ICT? And at some point I also started to feel like that, where do we really need to discuss about it? Because this is something we deserve. Why should we, discuss about it and this and that? But the thing is that, when we talk about women in ICT, we talk about the challenges women face in ICT industry. First of all, the ICT job it's not a 9-to-5 desk job. It requires a lot of travel. It requires any time for you to be prepared for your company, be at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And it's not really easy for a woman, because when even the family doesn't take it positively, when the person is married, the lady is married, in-laws are not taking it positively. When the lady is having a baby, it is even more challenging for that person. So I would like to give example with my own life, that in early years of my career, the first 6 months were very, very crucial. I was coming late from office at home, like almost every day, 6 months at a stretch. And I was going to data center 4 a.m. in the morning, just we were having some sort of a migration activity. And at one point, my parents called me and said that, I think, Afifa, it's time for you to switch your job, because I don't think any of the in-laws would accept it positively if you keep doing like this. And then I said that, what is more important? Do I really enjoy what I do, or what is more important, that the in-laws that I do not have in place right now, should I start impressing them in advance or not? Because I enjoy what I do. Then I created an environment within my family that they started to take it positively, that waking up at night and providing your extended support to the company is not something good. So the thing is that these are the challenging factors about women in ICT. And that is the reason when we say that there is a challenge, which means that there is a problem. And because of this problem, many women are getting, they are switching their job, or they are just dropping off from their job, even though they have a huge talent to contribute in the ICT industry. So the thing is that when we say that we have a challenge, which means that we have a problem. And when we have a problem, if we don't keep this problem in front of the table, and if we don't keep these things under the discussion, no one would know that there is a problem to address. So the thing is that we have identified something, and this is something we need to fix it. And the ladies who are in the panel members, they are basically inspiring other women that even though the ICT industry would be challenging for women, we still need you, because you are a talented bunch. We can't afford you to lose. So that is what I think, Sienna, it's all about.
Amazing, Afifa. That's really well said. I've got a couple of comments that I want to read out because they're really good. And then I think we'll get close to wrapping up. So if you've got any burning questions, please, or comments, please put them in the chat right now. Hannah says, Hannah from the APNIC Foundation says, really interesting question from Manoj. Seems to me women in ICT groups are important for two reasons. One, for encouraging participation and connection. The other is to explore what structural issues might exist that have created and perpetrated the low representation of women in the sector. And we can't deny there is a low representation of women in this sector, as presenters, but also as other things, and how we can dismantle those systems. It's not just about improving the confidence of individual women public speaking. I think the point here as well that Hannah made is by dismantling these structural systems or even exploring them, it actually benefits everyone, male, female, whatever. Because if we have more people participating in the sector, then we have more ideas and more contributions. We've also got a lovely thing from Marcos saying, I'm a newcomer, welcome newcomers. We love newcomers. It's amazing to see this wonderful group of women cheering up new generations. Are there any efforts done with men already in the field to be or show more openness towards women in ICT or to make them more aware of the problem? There are so many splintered women in ICT groups working in many, many different ways. Because there's not one answer to the problem. And I think one of the ways we can do this best is by human connection, reaching out to individuals and having discussions. So if you see any men that want to join this group, please give them the invitation. And I think, to be honest, this just suggests we all need a longer conversation, and I'm going to have a think about how we do that. And it might be on APNIC's new community platform. We shall find a way. How do we break the stereotype when a lady talks in the Women ICT session and everyone thinks she only speaks on this topic? Look, this is a really, really good point, Ying Chu. Often women are asked to present at tech conferences to talk about how hard it is to be a woman at a tech conference. And I think that's a massive issue because really they're experts in their field first and foremost. And so again, I think it's just about ensuring that as many people put really good submissions forward to PCs, and then merit will get them through. I think that's kind of about it. And Manoj said, thank you for answering my question. Thank you for asking that question, Manoj. I really appreciate that conversation. And it probably wasn't an easy question for you to ask, but congratulations for raising that. Well done. Thank you so much, everyone. I do encourage you to go to the conference chat and continue this conversation. Please do sign up on the APNIC, on the mailing list that we shared, because that will be our way to share with you any developments of how we can keep this conversation going. Thank you all so much, panelists, and thank you everyone who's contributed. It's been an absolute blast, as it always is. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.